Hello, welcome back to Matt's Automotive Channel. As you can see, I now have the timing chain back on, but just temporarily, so it'll hold everything in place while we get the cam phasers off. And I'm currently waiting for a TP55, that's a Taurus Plus bit that is needed to pull these cam phasers off. I don't have them quite yet. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do is start this video by removing the oil pan, and then hopefully we can see some of the carnage that occurred when that cylinder 5 piston was destroyed. So with that said, let's get started. Let's get some of these oil pan bolts off. On the very back side of the oil pan, there are a couple of 8mm bolts back here. A bunch more over here on the right side of the motor. Here's another thing that I just realized. The way that I mounted the engine to the engine stand, I actually used part of the oil pan to do so. As you can see, this is bolted to the oil pan and not actually the block. So what I'm gonna have to do is kind of reconfigure these. I'm gonna have to swing this over probably to here, and then this one up to here. All right, let's try to get this off now. I got it fairly loose. There we go. Yeah, there we are. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of goodies down here. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I see several things right off the bat. There were some chunks here that actually went off when I tilted the motor, so they're gonna be down lower. So when I take off this windage tray, we'll see. But yeah, you can see right here, that looks like a piston ring. And some more ring. And yeah, a lot of metal flakies down there. Ooh, that's sharp. Let's see if I can pull up some of this. Oh yeah, there's one of the oil rings. And yep, that's all part of the piston, I believe. Oh, I just saw all kinds of debris down here. Holy smokes. Look at this. More. No, it just keeps coming. Well, it'll sure be interesting to get the heads off and see what else we find. Huh. Oh, there's one of the wrist pin keepers. And I just keep finding more down here. Look at this. Yeah, it's definitely part of the piston there. So it'll be interesting to see what we have on, what the inside of the cylinder looks like, and see if it's damaged and if this block is salvageable, and also the condition of the valves. So anyway, I'll go ahead and continue to clean this up, and oh boy, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we have some spun bearings too, what else is going on here. So anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Okay, let's get these off. Okay, now we can pull off the timing chain once again. Now we can pull off our cam phasers. Let's begin removing cam cap bolts. Of course, a couple of them are gone already here where the high pressure fuel pump resides. But anyway, I'm gonna start working my way from the outside in little tiny stages, because some of these lobes are down and the spring is compressed. And I want to make this come up evenly and not bind the cam into the journals. So we'll just take this really slow and just go a little bit at a time. All right, after going over these several times, they're all loose now, so now I'll go ahead and zip them off with the impact. All right, let's take a look and see what these journals look like. There's a little bit of scoring in there, not real bad. And do remember, these do have to go back where you removed them. And fortunately, they are all labeled. And you can see they're labeled 1L, 2L, 3L, 4L, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then, of course, the same thing on the other side. So, anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and pull all these off and get the cam out of here. All right, our cam should lift right out. No problem. Okay, and here's the problem. If you look right here in these journals, you're gonna see some metal, and that's what got in there and kind of scored these things up. That's unfortunate, because there's no replaceable bearings in the head here. Let's get our intake cam out of here now. And same thing, a lot of little metal flakes in there, just destroying these journals. Now we're ready to remove our left side cylinder head, and you'll note, not only do we have the head bolts, we also have a little 8mm bolt right here in front. And we'll start by getting this one out. Okay, let's take out our cylinder head bolts, and we'll do the opposite pattern as when you install it, and then also we'll just go a little bit at a time. We're not going to go down on any one of these until they're all loose. All the head bolts are loose now, so now we can just go ahead and zip them out. And this last one, we're going to have to take off the cam position sensor to get the bolt out that hangs up on it. And right here, you can see what I'm talking about. So we'll just pull this out. Now we can take the last one out. Okay, here's the moment we've been waiting for. This should lift right off now. Another thing to keep in mind, these bucket lifters here, before we remove them, we do need to label them. They need to go back into the same place, because each one of these bucket lifters has a different thickness. And if you start swapping them around, you're going to change the valve lasting. So very important to keep things organized. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. Okay, here's our damage. There's cylinder 4, and there's 5. Wow. Look at that. Let's see if we can extract this. Let's see if I can actually pull this out. There we are, I think. Yep, there we go. Wow. There's our piston, totally messed up. So, yeah. Next thing we need to do is determine whether this block is salvageable, and then also the head. We obviously had some debris flying around in here. That's amazing. I've never seen one of these break, especially where the wrist pin is. That's pretty bad, but it looks like a ringland failure. Like maybe it was being ran too hot, these rings expanded too much, and then of course they catch on the side of the cylinder walls and then seize, but the engine keeps running, so it just destroys the piston, tears everything apart. You know, this is real common for motors that are where they increase the boost and run them real hard, because you increase the heat, and they're never designed to run with that much heat. If you're going to do that, then you need to actually remove the pistons and then open up the gap on the piston rings a little bit more to allow for a little bit more expansion. And this is what you get when you start modifying a tune on a stock motor. One way you can combat this without modifying the motor too much is to add water methanol injection. That'll keep the cylinder head temperatures down. But if you do that, make sure that you have some kind of fail-safe or alarm so you know when the water meth is not functioning properly. I did this on one of my Mustangs, and it worked great until the water meth failed, and then I destroyed my second motor in this exact same fashion. Now let's work on getting the right cylinder head off. I don't think it's going to be nearly as interesting. But anyway, if the cam phase is off of here, now we can get to this bolt and remove this guide. Okay, same procedure then on the other side. Let's get these cam caps loose. With all the cam caps loose, we can just pull them off and check the condition. Again, very rough. I think that metal got into the whole oiling system, and it kind of pretty much messed up all these journals and bearings. It'll be interesting to see what the rod bearings look like. But this side here looks pretty similar to the other side. Ooh, wow. This one is kind of stuck in here, this right side exhaust. Wow. So is the intake. Oh, wow, that's crazy. They're kind of seized in there. Unbelievable. Well, let me give them a little love tap with the hammer and see if we can free them. Okay, hopefully. This is gonna pop up a little bit, I know, because some of these are loaded. There we go, I knew it. Wow, those are really in there. Crazy. Okay, same drill with the intake. Wow. Okay, same drill on this side. Let's just start breaking these loose one at a time. All the bolts are broken loose, so let's just get them out. All right, let's lift this head off and see what we got. I don't think this is going to be nearly as interesting. Yeah, this looks pretty normal in here. A lot of carbon buildup. I tell you, these engines leak forever until you get all the components off of them. Let's go ahead and pull the head gasket off. Huh, that's interesting. I've never seen this before. I guess this is normal, but if you see that little metal tab in there, interesting. I'm not sure what that's for. If you do know, let me know. Odd. I don't know if I don't remember seeing one on the other side. Oh, that's because I hadn't taken off the head gasket yet. Let's go ahead and remove this. And yes, it has one as well. I just realized, I was thinking, well, maybe we can salvage this block, but after looking a little closer into the cylinder, I think the answer to that question is a big, fat, resounding no. If you can see that big chunk taken out of the cylinder wall right down there. So this thing is toast. At this point, I'm deciding whether I should even tear this down any further. We know that this is pretty much trash. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to use the F-150 block in its place either, just simply because it's so different. The oil return port for the turbo is in a different spot. It's up at, or it's near the back on this one. It's in the middle on this one. The bolt holes have a different alignment, so I doubt very much that the turbo is going to bolt up to this block. Oh boy. So basically, we have two motors here, and neither one of them are going to work in that car. I think we're kind of starting from scratch here. I also don't think we're going to be able to reuse this head. I think there's some damage on the bottom of it. I took a little peek at it. However, we'll take a better look at it here in a minute. And man, everything is pretty much trashed in here. I think just for kicks, I will go ahead and remove the crankshaft in here, and we'll check the bearings in the connecting rods. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to know if any of that metal made its way into those bearings and destroyed those. But pretty much this is toast. Let's pull out this coolant tube here. There we go. Looks like that just fit in with an O-ring. And then we got a couple knock sensors here we can remove. Just out of curiosity, let's see if our crank will spin at this point. It's still locked. That's all the movement we're getting. You can see the piston here, and it goes down there and then locks up. We were very fortunate to get those torque converter bolts out. Okay, let's roll the motor over and see what the bottom side looks like. I'm sure we'll have a bunch more spillage here. Well, here's the bottom side of the motor. And let's see what that little pickup tube looks like. Yeah, there's some debris in there too. Little metal chunks. And looks like some damage right in there. So yeah, let's go ahead and pull this windage tray off and see what else we find. Let's go ahead and pull off the oil pickup tube. Let's go ahead and pull off the windage tray. Okay. Here's some more parts, and here's why the motor's not turning. Take a closer look here. Here's the wrist pin and the connecting rod. Broken connecting rod. And I'll bet you that the motor spins now. Well, maybe it won't. If you see this connecting rod here, it's bent and it's wedged against the side of the block there. Let's see if we can get it to spin though. All right, it won't spin clockwise because it's pushing that connecting rod in to the side of the block there. Let's see if it'll go counterclockwise. Aha, there it is. And, oh my God, look at that. That's incredibly loose. So anyway, yeah, that's what was preventing it from spinning. Let's go ahead and start taking these connecting rods out, and we'll take a look at the crankshaft where this connecting rod goes. I'm going to show you odd. These bolts are actually 11s, and I don't recall ever seeing an 11 size bolt on any of the Fords anywhere. Okay. Wow. Bearing is totally gone. And yeah, look at that. I'll pull out another one for comparison, but this is definitely elongated there. And then of course just sheared off right there. This time the piston will hold the connecting rod in, but yeah, looks very different. And of course this still has the bearing in it. Still looks like it's starting to go. Once that metal gets in there, it really starts to destroy things. So anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and pop this piston out and then take a look at the whole connecting rod. Okay guys, I'm going to be a lot more careful on how I move these parts, but since this motor's gone, I don't really care. There we go. Okay, here's a good one and the bad one side by side. You can see what it's supposed to look like. Of course, this one still has the bearing in it. The bearing's completely gone, and that's probably the metal flakes that we saw roaming around in the motor everywhere. It's probably from this bearing just getting chomped up. And yeah, very elongated. You can imagine how that must have been slapping around inside the motor before it completely failed. Get this oil pump off. Get the water pump off. Now the interesting thing about this water pump is it has two separate gaskets here. The inside one here seals against the coolant. The outside one seals against the oil. If either one of them leak past the gasket, it's going to go into this little channel here, which coincides with this spot here on the block. And this is basically a weep hole. So if this gasket fails, depending on which one, it could leak either oil or coolant. And the interesting thing about this particular block here is you can see right here is the little channel for the weep hole, and then it comes out right over here. Well, this has all kinds of sealant in here, so it's like it leaked and then somebody decided to just plug it up with some RTV, and that should not be plugged. That's a weep hole. If you have something coming out of here, you better fix it. So that makes me wonder if maybe that was the start of the problem for this motor. Well, let's get the rest of these pistons out. All the pistons are out at this point. Oil pump's off. This crank is driving pretty much nothing. And I try to sit here and turn this by hand, and I cannot do it. I can twist it with the breaker bar, and it's not real hard, but it's not, okay, right there it's spinning freely. But then it gets right over here, and I can't turn it. So only in this one spot is it any good. So it may be that this crank is bent, but something's definitely not right here. Next thing to do is get the crankshaft out of here. We got some bolts on the side. We probably got some jack screws underneath those. And then of course the main bearing cap. So let's get all that out and lift the crank out of here. On this side, it won't be quite as easy. We need to get the oil filter housing out of the way because we've got one of the bolts hidden right behind it. Holding the oil filter housing on are just these three bolts, which I've already loosened. And this should just come off now. There we go. Now we can pull the bolts for the main bearing caps. Okay, I'll just kind of lightly tap this. There we go. There we go. Wow, just so you can see here, significant damage to the bearing. That's very rough. With the main bearing caps off, we can take off this plate off the back, and then we should be able to lift the crankshaft out. Before moving the main bearing caps, I did label them. If you do reassemble it, it has to go back in the same order. I now have all the bolts out of this back plate here, and one of the things I want to show you were these thrust washers. Here's one, and if you look down here, there's another one, and then another one over here towards the front side. So we need to make sure that we keep track of those and that those go back. Hopefully we can just tap this out now. There we go. There we go. There we go. There's our rear main seal. Now we'll be able to lift the crank out. But before I do that, what I'd really like to do is check to see if the crank is bent. So we'll just leave it in here, and then we'll put a dial indicator on here and then rotate it and see if there's any run out there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the crank here. I got the dial indicator here on the back. Let's rotate the crank here and see if there's any run out. Oh yeah. So we're going down to, it looks like around 12 thousandths and coming all the way up to 15 thousandths. So there's about 3 thousandths run out there. And that is probably why it gets hard and easy as you spin that crank around. So it looks like we even have a bent crankshaft. We can go ahead and pull our crank out now. And again, this exercise was just for kicks, just to see how bad it really is. I mean, we're not going to be able to salvage this motor anyway, and it looks like we won't be able to salvage very many parts either. So anyway, this was just to satisfy curiosity. So let's see, we've got some main bearings here. I pull this out, and now we should be able to just lift the crank out. There we go. And let's see, if we look at the main bearings here, they do not look like they're in very good shape. A little scoring there, very scratchy. Yeah, there's definitely some metal that got in there too. Boy, once that metal gets into the motor, it just destroys absolutely everything. Here's our thrust bearings. There's one, there's another one right on this side. Let's see. There we go. It looks like there's 3 thrust washers. Okay, now we can take the rest of these main bearings out. Boy, those are in bad shape. So anyway, that's about as far as we can tear down the block. We still have the heads to deal with, but we can't go any further with the block. It's completely disassembled. We have parts absolutely everywhere now. Got stuff over here. We've got some exhaust stuff over here. And then of course, most of the stuff that came off the motor is over here. As you can see, this is a pretty complex motor to work with. And then over here we got the cams. So just parts absolutely everywhere, and we haven't even tackled the heads yet. Quite a few more parts there. And I think I'll wait till the next video to do that. Now that some of that oil is kind of run off, you can see a lot of the carnage there that accumulated in the oil pan. Pretty bad. So I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to salvage. I have a feeling that head's going to go too. At least one of the two is going to go. We could probably salvage the other one, maybe. Anyway, we'll have to check all that out. So there you go. Got the block torn down as far as we can go. And I think in the next video we'll go ahead and continue with the heads and see what we can salvage, and then figure out what we need to get. We'll probably have to piecemeal a bunch of things together. I'm not even certain about this F-150 motor. It might be best that we just sell that and use the money from that to buy parts. Obviously we're going to need a new bear block and maybe a head. So anyway, in the next video we'll figure out exactly what we need to do to get a working motor again. And I'll catch you on the next one. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be reminded of videos going forward. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.